Next webinar, testing on GeneXus applications by Mariana Falbrino. Mariana has been working in information technology since 2010. She is part of the Abstractor team as GXtest customer success, generating strong relations with clients and attending to their needs. Mariana complements her role with a technical profile, contributing to the GXtest development process in the areas of verification, validation, and documentation. At this time, I now present to you Mariana Falabrino.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to GXtest for presentation. Thanks for joining. My name is Mariana Falabrino, as you know, and I am the customer success of GXtest. In this demo, I'll present what is GXtest for, what are the most typical use cases, and the benefit for GeneXus development projects. So, what is GXtest for? It is the testing tool for GeneXus projects. It came inside in GeneXus IDE, where the test objects are part of the knowledge base. The most important thing for modern development process is that enables to run end-to-end tests to achieve continuous integration and continuous delivery processes. What kind of testing can you do with GXtest? When our plan is to implement automated testing, we must take into account the ideal test automation pyramid explained by Michael Cohen. As you can see in the pyramid, the unit tests carry the most weight in the pyramid. This is because the unit tests run fast and are coded by developers. In a second level, we have the integration test, where we'll test the communication between different components of our application, in example, service testing. And finally, we have a third layer of UI tests that are the user interface tests. Typically, are used for system integration tests and user acceptance testing. And these kind of tests are oriented to testers and QA. So why do I need to use this tool in my development process? Firstly, because the developers need to test their code. The tool provides developers a fast way to test their objects after integration. In second place, this allows to achieve the methodology continuous integration and continuous delivery to get shorter and faster cycles. Also, it allows carry out shift left practice, that means test earlier for catching young bugs and to have fastest cycles of our process. Finally, test automation is the harness of DevOps culture. So, what is unit testing? Unit testing is a method by which individual units of source code are executed to determine if they are fixed to use. The goal of unit test is to separate each part of the program and test that the individual parts are working correctly. You can think of unit test as code that tests other code. What about UI automation? UI testing is another approach that enables the simulation of user interactions over the running application. These are valuable for regression tests and core business testing. So let's start the demo over a KB that you can find in Sandbox beta server. In this example, the application manages containers with a list of boxes, customers, and customs that need to receive important information about the containers. I'll test two features. The first one is the send information to customs, and then I'll test the workflow, create, set cost, and remove a box from a container. Let's see the application. This is the example application where we have containers with two boxes in this case. With two containers. The first container has 9 boxes, and the second have 5 boxes. And with this XML link button, the application generates a XML that is needed to send to the customs. So I'll test this feature. And after that, I will create a workflow, creating a new box and set the price of the box with this link, set cost in the container, and after that I delete the box. So the first part is unit testing. Before I start with an example in the KBE, let's see a simple example to understand the concept of unit test. So in the KB, we can see the procedures. Some of them implement the feature that I commented before. So suppose that you need to test a procedure that divides two numbers and returns the result in a variable. This procedure has two parameters, in and one of out, and this procedure should divide two numbers. So to test this procedure, I just have to click right over the procedure and select Create Unit Test. This option will automatically generate a test that will execute and test the procedure. This generated procedures is a unit test object. GXtest automatically generates 3 objects. One of them is the unit test. The logic of the unit test is iterate over a data collection, that is this, where I define the data test. Here, I'll define the data test. In this isDT structure, I'll set the values to test. Copying and pasting, I add more cases. So, for example, negative case. So I save my data test collection. And in this logic, my unit test iterates over the data collection with the taste data. After for each iterate, it calls the procedure that we want to test, and after that, it made a validation with the function assertion. In GXtest, the validations are with assertion functions. We have different types, but in this case, we will use assert numeric equals. This function receives the expected result, the obtained result, and error message. To execute the test, right-click over the unit test and select Run this test option. Note that this object is just a special procedure, GeneXus procedure. So you can add all code that you need, and you can edit this template, and also you can make validations over the database if you in this case if you need make a validation over the database, you can add a for each over a table and add assertions in this iteration. So when the execution ends, the results will be shown in the IDE. I can see the expected values with the obtained values, and in case of some of them fails, an error message will be shown. Okay, so now that we know what a unit test is, we'll test feature 1, send information to custom feature. The feature send information to custom is implemented by the procedure create XML for custom. This procedure has an in parameter that is the container ID, and an output parameter where the information to send to customs will be saved. This procedure iterates over the box table and save information in SDT custom. So to test this object, I'll do the same that the before example. So for create unit test, I click in right and select create unit test. And I'll edit the data provider with my test case data. In this case, I'll test with container number 1. And in this case, I'll execute without an expected value set, just to show what happened. So I'll save and I'll run the unit test. This is an easy way to test our procs without having to create auxiliary procs or additional web panels to check different input values to verify the output. In this case, as we expected, the test fails because we didn't set the expected output value. We can expand with this button click to expand to see the difference, the system, the logic of this procedure obtain the SDT with data, and in the expected value we didn't set, so the test fails. So now I'll add the expected value for SDT output variable. I have the expected value saved in my KB. I'll copy paste the value and I'll run again the test. Oh, sorry, here. So I'll copy the expected value and I'll run, I save, and I'll run again the test. The goal of this tool is to facilitate the process to easily verify the procedure behavior with different input and output values. In this case, it's the same, the expected of the obtained data, so the test passes. So note that we tested a procedure that doesn't modify the database status. It just take data from the database and create the XML. But what happened with the database validations? Can we test this kind of process? Just because of time issues, I won't make a demonstration, but we can perfectly validate the database status, adding a for each and the corresponding assertions to the data we want to validate, and adding the expected value and the obtained one for each value to validate. GXtest doesn't automatically generate database validation, but a GeneXus developer can add this easily. All they need to do is to iterate the table to check and add the assertion function call. Remember that the unit test is a special procedure, so you can edit and add all code that you need to verify your logic application. Okay, so now I'll start the second part of the demonstration. In this second part of the demo, I'll record a workflow to create to the feature number 2. This is create a new box, set the cost, and delete box with GXtest recorder. And after that, I'll import the GeneXus code and run the UI test from GeneXus IDE in Chrome browser. So as we have the in GeneXus the unit test concept, we have also the UI test object through which we can control the browser and add user interface validations. We have UI test for web and UI test for smart device. In this case, I'll implement an UI test for web. The object UI test for web has a variable called driver that allows you to send actions to browser. So typically the first command is the start command. And suppose that I want to simulate open Google page and pause the execution for 5 seconds. So I have to use the following commands. I use the go command with URL set. And now we have a command to pause the execution, 5 seconds, and the test finalize with end command. This example doesn't test anything. It is just to understand how UI test works. So I'll run the UI test and GXtest simulate the user interaction with the browser. As you can see, the browser is open. Go to Google page and pause for 5 seconds and finish the UI test. In this case, the test passes because both commands was execution will successfully. Obviously, the idea is not to write all workflow by hand. It will take a lot of time. For that reason, we facilitate the GXtest recording extension to Chrome for recording the workflows over applications, and after that, to import the record in commands language to GeneXus. GXtest recorder is a extension Chrome, and you can download from Chrome Web Store. So let's look at an example with the second feature that create, set cost, and delete the box in our example application. So to start the recording and press the record button. And now, while I do actions over the application, the recorder catch this in commands. So I will create the new box. Now I'll set the cost in the container ID1. I added the box in this container. And now I'll verify the new box cost. For that, I select the value that I want to verify and click Write and select GXtest recorder as our text. And finally, I delete the box. Confirm. So I'll stop the recording. The recorder saves a collection of commands by which it will be able to playback the workflow over application. Let's playback with this button. As you can see, the recorder saved go command, click command, type by command. These are typical commands in our workflows. So now that we validate that this is the correct flow that we want to automate, I download the GeneXus code, clicking the download link button. So we have the GeneXus code in commands. So I copy and paste in IDE. Okay, now I'll run the test from GeneXus IDE. We can select by which browser we want to run. In this case, I will run in Chrome, but we can select, we support for other browsers like Firefox, Edge, and Internet Explorer. So I'll run the test, clicking right the object and select run this test. So we can run the UI test from GeneXus IDE, but this kind of test run slower than unit test. So in our development process, we want to run this test from a pipeline in a specific moment. Maybe the developer want to run the UI test from the IDE, and he can do it, but the idea is run this test from the pipeline. So the UI test passes. In this case, the test executes all commands correctly. So the test find all elements in the application, and it can continues the flow until then, and also validate with this with assertion function the cost of the boxes that the expected is the same that they obtained. Note that you can also check the browser in which execute and the time that take the execution takes. Okay. So let's see the most typical use cases. Use case number 1 is the typical scenario where a developer just needs to test their own objects. Instead of creating procedures, web panels, populating table data every time a new modification is made, they can just create unit test objects and test the code. It's a powerful way of formally documenting the expected behavior and output of KB objects. This use case is free to use on GeneXus. You need get GeneXus IDE version 15 or 15 or 16. The second use case is when you need to automate end-to-end test. our environment and you can run it from IDE. So you implement UI workflows and run from IDE. For that, you need also to get GXtest license and GXtest server. Other possible scenario is when the development need to share the test object through GX server. For example, I have different developers working in the development process and they need need to share the test objects. And this last use case is the most important and provide more benefit in the development process. If we are using GX server, it is a must to integrate code frequently. This is the basic modern development process to boost productivity and collaboration. So the main purpose is to integrate this test in a continuous integration process in order to know the health condition of our application after each commit, after each change. Ideally, we'll integrate the code frequently and periodically. In example, in each developer commit to GX server. This change will be integrated in a central repository doing the following steps. The first step is update the KB. You can configure this task by MS build or with the GX server plugin in Jenkins. The next step is build all the KB, and after that you'll run the unit test. Until this step, this is a basic sequence of continuous integration. If you want to go one more step, you'll have a step of deploy to QA environment where you'll run the unit test again and the UI test and notify results to stakeholders. We recommended you to use Jenkins integration server because you have a GX server plugin. Note that this diagram is a basic sequence. You can also run performance test or static code analytics, and you can also integrate this pipeline in different branch. The ideal is to have a pipeline in the trunk branch development and in the stable branch also. So about GXtest training, we have a free training in English to do in 8 hours. If you want to take this course, just send me, please contact me by email. Also, we have a quick start. About the licenses features, we have a lot of features that now I couldn't show you, but we have more features like code coverage that is really important in our development process. Also mocking database and we have other feature of generate test automatically generate test data, and you have a table in our official page in where you can find the details of licenses and free features. And we have a consulting partnership. They offer professional services and also a course called GeneXus Agile Developer that is a generic course in which GXtest is related. And this is the end of the presentation. I hope you like it. I know that it was short, but if you need any more information, you can send me an email. So thank you very much. We can this feature in beta branch. You can test this feature if you want, and there is also information in our wiki in a section of mocking database. The idea is can update some the idea is separate the database of the logic of the test, but I can send you then more information because I don't know a lot exactly the feature. It is possible to implement a load test in order to test multiple access to the. I don't know if this answer the question, but you can. I know that you can execute in source labs, and you can execute. But I'm not sure. I think that you in this moment we not support execute in multiple executions at the same time. But if you want to know more information, please contact by me, and I discuss with the rest of the team. Also, if if you think that this is an important feature, we can try to implement in the short time. Yes, we can customize, yes, the assertions. There is an assertion that is boolean, a assertion boolean function in this assertion you can put a conditional expression, or you have the conditional expression before and save the result of the conditional expression in a variable and and use in your assertion. I'm reading the question. Sorry. Create test. I don't understand exactly the question. What if I want to create test, but they don't have an IDE license?
Hi, Marina. I think they want to see if someone who does not have the IDE, who does not use the GeneXus IDE, can diagram tests outside GeneXus.
No, GXtest is only a testing tool for GeneXus IDE. There, you can use the recorder, but the only feature that is useful in this case is the playback, because if you download the code, you only get GeneXus code. So maybe you need other testing tool in this project.
Right, probably what the other user can do is use the recorder and do all the steps, all the workflow, and then the developer takes that code and imports it as you showed. I think we have one more question, one from Franco.
Which is the question, sorry?
Let me see if I can put it up.
Yeah. Please, if you get more questions or you need know more information, please contact by me. We can have a meeting, a call, and analyze the specific and particular development process also.
Good. Can you repeat your email?
Can you
Diana?
explain a little about? My mail is mariana.falabrino. I'll send to chat.
Perfect. You type it in the chat.
Remember that unit test is a free feature, and really is important start to implement this kind of testing in our development process. You can find a lot of information about modern development process, DevOps, the value of generating our development process, get unit testing, and that is the base of the pyramid, the automated testing. So you can start to work from now. You can start for unit testing and then go a more step.
Great. Franco says that his question was answered. He confirmed that his question was already answered. So I think we have no more questions, Mariana.
Okay, thanks for showing in the presentation, and I hope see you again.
Great. Thank you, Mariana, for this excellent presentation. And thanks to everyone for your participation and also for your questions. Just a final reminder, remember that the recording of this webinar will be available on the GeneXus webinar site and also on our YouTube channel. Remember to check our new GeneXus webinar sites regularly for previous and upcoming webinars. All the content there is free and 100% online. So as Mariana said, we hope to see you again next time, and please be safe.